If you lose, hey, it wasn't on you. You were just going to lose, but you showed up. You did everything you could. So same mentality. I was like, all right, we still got ideas. We still got things we haven't tried. We're going to try. And within 60 days, we were in like the six-figure annual like numbers. Immediate results from pivoting into that.
Okay, so talk to me about what projects did you ultimately implement inside C2C, and what are some of those tangible results that you saw?
I had seen my sales double. I had seen conversion rates double, but we're talking about doubling from like zero. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, yeah, we're moving the right direction, but this is still not a scalable brand. Like it's still not moving the way it should be. So then I pivoted into jujitsu. I kind of knew there was like this nagging voice in the back of my mind that was like, you need to commit. You need to go all in on your community. And I just had all these reasons why I didn't want to do it. And a lot of the reasons were because the cheap jujitsu soap brands that I had mentioned before, their products are terrible, but they are multi-million-dollar brands. They are endorsed by whatever you think of Joe Rogan or whatever. Because he's a jiu-jitsu black belt and he interviews so many MMA athletes on his platform. And if you're jiu-jitsu people like to listen about jiu-jitsu. And so he talks a lot about jiu-jitsu and elevates a lot of people doing amazing jiu-jitsu. So his voice in the community is like prominent. And he talks about these soaps all the time. And he tells every professional athlete, have you tried them? Like, you need to try them. Like, I know the guy who started them and blah, blah, blah. And so for me, I'm not even a black belt, Aggie. I'm a purple belt. So for me to step into that space and be like, yo, that stuff sucks. It felt very risky and scary. And I was like, oh my gosh, all the alpha males are going to pile on me and like social media and be like, what do you mean it sucks? I've used it for 10 years and, you know, whatever, like stupid stuff. I had this whole dialogue in my head that was not going, like, I had my whole mind made up about it, and none of it was true. None of it was grounded in reality. It was just all of my insecurities. It's kind of like shadows on the wall that you think are real, but they're not. And so once I was like, I either have to get over this or the brand's going to shutter. There is no in between.
Right.
So I was like, I guess we're going to try getting over it. We're going to see what happens. Because I'm just not willing to give up. I can only walk away when I have no more ideas. You know what I mean? Then I can say, well, I tried everything. This is also a very jujitsu kind of mentality. If you're going to go compete, when you go compete, you want to leave it all on the mats. You want to show up knowing you did everything. Once I was just strictly in jujitsu, I redid the whole website. Like if you're not a jujitsu person, a lot of things on the website don't even make sense.
They don't, because I'm on your site. Like, I use you as an example because I'm like, you can't understand, unless you do jujitsu, you can't understand a word that is on your homepage, which is the point.
Yes, I'm making all these references to different jujitsu movements and submissions. There's so many tongue-in-cheek little things little sayings and like things that people hear that I'm paying homage to, that if you're in the sport, you get it. But if you're not in the sport, it just goes right over your head. So when jujitsu people read it, now they're like, oh, this is my brand. Like, oh, they get what I'm going through. They understand everything that I'm experiencing. They get me. So once I was in that world, I have further niched in that world to jujitsu people who struggle with their skin. Like if you don't struggle with your skin and you love, you know how some people just genetically, I always envy the women whose hair is like corn silk, just beautiful corn silk hair. It's clearly a genetic thing. I feel like they don't necessarily have to spend money on like high-end boutique, shampoos to have their hair, because genetically they have their hair. Okay, so people in jiu-jitsu who don't have skin trouble, like they just genetically, they've got great bulletproof skin, cool, go use the cheap crap. Like you can use the cheap crap and you're fine. But people who struggle, they're the ones that can't use the cheap stuff that really need better solutions. So I've further niched into like, okay, we're not actually for all jujitsu athletes, we're for jujitsu athletes with sensitive and reactive skin. And every time I have niched down more and further committed to a particular audience with a particular pain point and a very specific experience, the conversion rate has doubled and then doubled again. And what's interesting is I'm not necessarily getting more traffic because I'm not spending more on ads. But, and a person like with eczema, I'm sorry, a person without eczema isn't going to see my ad and be like, oh, I want to check out this brand, right? But the person with eczema who's also a jiu-jitsu athlete, they're not only going to check out the brand, they're going to be much more compelled. The brand's going to be really compelling for them. So that was a big lesson in traffic, because I feel like so many people think I just need more traffic. I just need more traffic. You do need traffic. People have to be going to your website or your Amazon store or whatever. But what you really need are conversions. And if you're gonna get conversions, for me, my experience, I had to take a stand on a very specific point. I had to call out what was missing in the market, which means calling out bad quality, products. And I had to have a very strong opinion. And like the sassier I was and the more kind of just opinionated and in your face I was, I realized like, oh, now this is starting to feel like a movement.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the polarizing effect.
Yes.
This is just I want to put a pin in this because it's such an important lesson for everyone who's listening. And I see this time and time again. And you're obviously not the only one where we're going so broad and way too broad. And there's this really big and strong and real imposter syndrome or fear that, well, if we narrow ourselves down, we're saying no to all these people and we need more sales. So how is that going to help me? And I don't want to, alienate people. And I think everyone has that concern. I think many people have that concern, especially earlier on. So I'm really glad that you shared too, just your process in like being nervous to do so. Right. And in taking the action, it's almost like sometimes you may not be able to get over the fear and then you take the action. Sometimes you have to take the action to then get over the fear.
Yeah. It's that you got skin in the game and you are desperate and it's this or die. If it's not do or die, you may feel like there's still some wiggle room or, but this thing will work for me, whatever thing you're doing wrong. Like I kind of, at some points I did suspect that maybe I could do things better, but I wasn't quite ready. Like I hadn't finished running that bad experiment yet. And then once I was done with it, I was like, okay, no, that does not work. Like I have given it 60 days, 90 days. I am seeing nothing. Like scrap it. We got to move on. And two, something that I find really interesting, like being in C2C and talking to other small business owners in our space who are at the place that I was at in my, post-launch, but not scalable yet. A lot of owners, they'll tell me a story about their brand. And then if I go on their website, I don't see that story anywhere. Do you know what I'm talking? So if you were to ask me about my brand, I would have told you about jiu-jitsu. Oh, well, it started because, I train and this and that. And then if you would have gone on my website, you wouldn't have seen any jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Do you remember me talking to you about this? And I was like, but where's the story?
Yeah.
But where is this?
Yeah. And it just, again, I had to go through that whole emotional journey of confronting my own insecurities about it. And is my story good enough? And is my story compelling enough? And it's not even, it was for sure the fear of excluding too many people that I won't be left with enough of an audience if I speak, too specifically. But it was also other people who loved other brands and other solutions. I didn't want them to talk shit about my brand because I was saying something different. So it was that too. It was both of those things combined, but they're imaginary fears.